Okay, I'd like to call to order the January 28th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting, Lower Southwood Township. So for the beginning of this meeting, this is the this part of this meeting is for the reorganization of the Planning Commission. So I'll run the reorganization until a chairperson is elected. So at this time, the floor is open for nominations for chairperson.
Dennis, maybe you nominated as chair, planning commission.
I second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay, hearing none. Is there discussion regarding chairperson for Manus? No. Okay, then I will ask for a roll call to have Manus McHugh be the chairperson for 2026. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Manus, congratulations. Gavel.
Good luck.
Same play. We get it right. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to nominations for vice chair. I would like to nominate Julia Hurley.
Second.
Any other nominations? Motion to close the nominations. Motion, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And secretary, I believe we, by tradition and necessity, is it Patty or you?
It would be me.
It's you, but.
As a formality, the motion needs to be passed for me to continue as secretary.
Motion to appoint Mike Buki as secretary of the planning commission.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Set to do some work now. Everyone should have the minutes from the combined November-December meeting. Any changes, additions, deletions?
They were correct.
Nope. Hearing none, motion to approve as submitted.
So motion.
Aye. Thank you, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Scott and Joe.
Abstain.
We're here. Good. Okay, 0 Hoffman Road. So we have a 0.
Says no.
All right.
We're gonna go high school style and take one, pass them down sort of thing.
Oh, cool.
Back in school today. I'm used to seeing a lot of angry faces in the crowd. I'm seeing the angry face.
That was last one. Hey, it's the win.
Just imagine that.
Question about
There's an
this.
active
Are these the same plans that,
Yeah, so that's not good.
What's that?
are these the same plans that were reviewed?
Yeah, well, the ones on the front is a rendering plan.
Okay.
And then the only difference would be the sanitary is different.
Oh, they are too.
Yeah, just the sanitary connections are gonna be different. I had a meeting with the township authority and they took exception to the shared easement. That was originally proposed to have all of these sanitary connections join in the street.
Yeah.
And then there was gonna be an easement that took it up to, there's an existing clean out up here for the pressure line in Hoffman Road. But they asked that we do separate connections, because DEP would make them own the entire line if there was more than one resident.
Yeah, real quick, I just have an internal question here.
Sure.
Stephanie, the Bowman letter. The Bowman letter references plans from November 13th, 2024. I assume that's just the incorrect date. Isn't it November 25 are the most recent plans?
For this also.
Yeah, aren't he? Is it 2024?
Thought it was a while ago.
Yeah, the end of one.
Yeah, it should be 2025. What's the date on the latest plan set?
I thought it was 2025.
November 13th, 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It was submitted in December of 25. Okay, so,
The plans were submitted in December 25,
Correct.
and 24 plans. The plans were a year old that were submitted to us.
Or is it just a typo?
It should have been the date.
oh, the date, right.
Okay.
Actually, the title block must not have gotten updated. Let me
Was
double-
there a previous submitted plan?
There was a previous sketch plan that we came here in, I think, April of 25. That had a very similar sketch to this layout here. I'm guessing the title block didn't get updated. Let me see.
And the
what
reason I say that, if you look at CKS's review letter, it
Mhm.
references the November 13th, 2025 plan.
Let's see.
And the Bauman review letter is a 2024 November.
It should be.
Yeah,
2024. It should
I
be-
think
oh, that's just
CKS,
like
they
2024.
recognize the error.
Yeah,
Okay,
the sketch plan was dated February 19th, 2025.
okay, I just want to make sure we're
Yeah.
not missing something.
No,
All right. So, I can, everybody see that from our blocking, but. It should be should be a pretty easy one, tonight. I go over the project a little bit. Again, my name is Adam Prince. I'm with Firavanti Engineers. I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm here to talk about Zero Hoffman Road. I'll stand on this side. That way you can see too. So, there is an existing 6.1 acre tract near the golf course. We, like I said, we were here in April, not me personally, but we were here in April to discuss the sketch. The sketch got a lot of good positive feedback, so we kept that same 3-lot layout with 2 lots in the front and then a rear flag lot in the back. So. All, there's someone back this up. All houses will have their own stormwater management systems. The rendering shows all the storm systems outlined in blue. But I wanna point out that they're all gonna be underground. There's gonna be no above ground basins, it's all gonna be buried, it's just gonna be lawn. The reason that there's 2 basins on each lot is, DEP is requiring a new managed relief concept for stormwater management when there's poor infiltration. So since there's poor infiltration on the site, we couldn't go that route. They have a new system in place that they have calculations for different storm events, and you have to go through all that when you get your NPDES permit. That's all set up for that, for a different meeting. Obviously, that's more of a design oriented thing. But we have started the process of getting the NPDES permit, some of the documents together. And we believe that what is designed, what was reviewed by your engineer, will pass the NPDES go around. Sanitary, like I mentioned earlier, used to have a shared connection that into the shared driveway. That you put a new easement up through here and connect to an existing cleanout. They Township Authority requested that we do 3 separate connections, so that's what those orange lines are representing, the new connection areas.
Adam, did we have a digital copy of that color rendering?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Cause I guess I should have sent it, because I think you guys said your projector was down, so I don't think I even bothered setting over the electronic, but I can certainly send you one for.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, so water and electric, very coming right out to the common driveway on all lots. And down connection into the street. The landscaping is shown here. We're gonna keep the same tree species from the golf course and continue it up and around. I think that was one thing that was discussed at the April meeting, April 25 meeting, was to keep the vegetation concurrent with what's out there. And it's also incorporated in our landscape buffer on the northern side of the property as well. As for the houses, there's gonna be some monster houses. We're looking at the 5,300 square foot footprint here, 5,300 square foot footprint, and almost a 3,000 square foot footprint in the rear. So 2 stories, these are gonna be very luxurious homes with the view of the golf course for some much wealthier individuals than myself. So, as far as the review letter, we did get the review letter last week from CKS Engineers. It's all will comply. There are 2 waiver items that are gonna be required for the way it's designed now. And I think they're rather simple waivers. They would be waiver relief from section 107.5. In regards to the size of the pipe, we have 8-inch diameter pipe around the homes for the yard drains. The code has a required minimum of 12-inch pipe is, while it could be used, it's definitely overkill for the amount of drainage that those inlets are gonna receive. So a smaller pipe has been proposed for cost and efficiency purposes. And in hand with that, the next point of the code 107.6 requires that all pipe be reinforced concrete. We're proposing plastic pipe throughout the project. But other than those 2 items with the pipe size and the pipe material, the rest of the engineer's letters will comply. A lot of good comments on landscaping and grading. We got the comment letter from the planning commission this morning. They had a couple comments on landscaping. Couple comments on the stormwater management systems in regards to soils and more landscaping comments, but as far as a plan goes, the planning perspective, I think our plan is in place. Everything is seeming to line up a lot easier than it usually does for these kind of projects. And like I said, I'm used to seeing 40 people in the room all throwing things at me at this point, so it's good to
Michelle,
see.
any issue with the pipe diameter or with material?
Not with the size for the type of pipe. Are you still planning on using PVC rather than HDPE?
We would probably use PVC around the homes. Anything under the road would be HDPE.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you'll make that change?
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure, yeah.
not with those 2 items. I would like to ask 2 questions if I can. You said 2 things during your presentation. One is that, you're gonna bring the sanitary sewer laterals now in a new location. And I can't see that from here, but it appears that at least 2 of the laterals are going into the cartway. It's not on the edge of the cartway. Is that correct?
Well, 2 of them are going into the cartway here and here. There's an existing clean out right here that's for the existing force main sewer.
Okay,
There's a lateral that runs to a clean out right here. So lot 1 would be tying into an existing structure.
okay.
Only 2 would require excavation in the street.
And the sewer authority will go through that with you. I just bring it up because you're going into the cartway. We will probably ask you to mill and overlay that section of the road.
Okay,
Off of Hoffman Road. Number 2, when you were doing your presentation, you said that you're going to have all the trees along Hoffman Road and along the driveway be 1 species and then continue that along the property line. One of our comments says that we'd like different species, different varieties, in case something happens to that species, then they all don't die. Do you have a problem? And you said that everything will comply in our letter. So, do you plan on adding more varieties?
yeah, if it's in the letter, we'll do it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And I think we initially just had the trees here because that's what we talked about at the last meeting. Different and more varieties, more trees, less trees, whatever you want, we'll put it. I know you have a comment about a registered landscape architect,
Right,
so we will have to we don't have one in our firm, so we will sub the project out to them, get them to either add, change, review, but whatever they have to do to get a certified seal for it.
alright,
On the landscaping, what are the slopes, the existing slopes in that south corner,
Down here,
yeah, what are those slopes?
oh, they're really, really steep. I think they're like 12 to 15 slopes
You
here.
have them in grass,
What's that?
and that's grass I'm looking at.
Yeah, well, we're only disturbing to here.
Oh.
Yeah, so the limited disturbance is about right here. Not below all the construction, any of this is all gonna stay the good twisted conditions time.
Is the existing condition a meadow or is that mowed lawn? I assume that's meadow, that slope.
It's just overgrown meadow,
Overgrown.
yeah. It gets forested down here towards the creek, but I'm pretty sure this section is just overgrown.
Okay.
Let's see, to make sure I hit everything I wanted to hit for now.
Couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
The driveway, so is there gonna be a agreement amongst the homeowners around maintenance and who's plowing and all of that?
Yeah, so the driveway has an easement around the entire perimeter. It goes all the way around the bulb here, so that all three properties will have shared access to that driveway. And in turn, we'll all have responsibility through an HOA to maintain and repair the driveway. Same goes with the storm systems. Because lot two takes, you know, the drainage from both sides of the street, so there's no inlets or curbs or anything. We've got drainage side swales, so the water will come down, there's a culvert here, water keeps moving this way, and it gets picked up into their system. So rather than, you know, give this guy the short end of the stick, because he's got the bigger system, all systems will be maintained equally through the HOA.
What is the width of the driveway?
These,
No, the share.
Main road.
I think that. What is that? What the heck?
It's 25.
It's 25.
25, is that?
Okay.
Oh, that was the ones we, yeah, 25.
All right, so that should be sufficient if somebody's coming out, somebody's killing it.
Yeah.
All right, great, super. And then, is this all being developed by one developer?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not, per design, bringing your own,
No, yeah, they're gonna be doing the whole shebang there.
So
So,
the driveway is part of lot three, the shared easement.
what's that?
The driveway, the road, the entrance road is part of lot three, and then there's, on top of that, there's the shared easement.
Well, the entrance road is its own easement, its own property, so this property line would stop here.
No, it can't.
No, it's a flag lot.
Oh, the flag lot, you're right, sorry, yeah, lot three, I was thinking this lot, yeah, lot three, you're correct. Flag lot would come all the way down, and then the shared easement would be for everybody to have shared access, my bad on that one. It starts to really kind of create a fork when you go cul-de-sac route, driveway route, there's. Give and take with each route, whichever way you go, without having to do sidewalk and curb and all this, it's gonna be. Township, no dedication, obviously, a lot of roads, driveway. It'll be beautiful landscape, you won't see any of the storm water.
so will they just all be given 3 addresses on top of it?
No, it'll actually, even though it's a shared driveway, the county. Refers it to be its own street name.
Really?
Yep, it's similar to what we did over at Briarwood, which was 931 Harleysville Hike. And. Yeah,
Yes,
Sword
Sword
Road.
Road, yes.
Yes, also Sword Road, thank you. And so, right, so we have, what's the name of the Harleysville Cook?
Cookway is 931.
Cookway is 931 Harleysville Pike, even though it's a shared driveway.
Right.
The county public safety department wants actual separate street names for safety.
And
What do
that,
we do across
you
the
guys,
street?
any name you wanna give us, we'd be
What's
happy to
your
use
street
it. Yeah, I like that, to the Adam Drive.
Other questions?
Across the street, I'm just, remember, we didn't do sidewalks across the street, right? Because the sidewalks already have this.
But across the street, we did the paved trail or sidewalk.
Yeah, we did the trail up to the one point, then it connected it to
Right.
the one at the back.
Right. There's an existing sidewalk.
On that
Service,
side,
yeah.
right, right,
Yeah, on the side,
Yeah.
right?
and they had a common drive. too, I think, the other side, that's not relevant, okay, keep going.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you got a 5,000 square foot home here, 5,000 square foot home. What if the guy in the back says, oh no, I want a 5,000 square foot home too?
Then he'd have to buy one of these lots. The lot geometry for that smaller lot, you could manage to squeeze in a bigger home, but you're taking up all your building envelope. I think what the idea of the smaller home here would be able to permit future expansion for pools, patios, whatever a future homeowner would want. If we abut him to all sides of the building envelope, it makes the lot less appealing and say, oh, I can't put a pool in, I can't put a garage in, or whatever they wanna do. They like to see, potential buyers, from what I've understanding, would like to see a little bit of development area to be able to play around.
For me, I'd rather be in the back out of the way.
Yeah,
Don't buy it.
Thank you.
That's.
Let you know when it's for sale, eh?
So Michelle, looking at the CKS letter,
Mhm.
so like line 6, you're saying. You're saying will comply on ADA curb ramps. Are you gonna do poured concrete or Belgian block?
The entire frontage is already Belgian block, we can certainly do Belgian block, just match what's there.
So Michelle, I guess my question, I just wanted to make sure that you're okay. This is preliminary final. I'm not hearing a lot of issues. But I see you have a comment number 4. Where you're talking about road width, and you said this determination will be made on a subsequent review. I don't want to leapfrog and give you a subsequent review if you're anticipating another track.
What is the partway width of Hoffman Road, do you know?
Well, it should be, I think it's like it says in your letter, you got the 10-foot travel lane with the 50-foot right of way.
Is required, is that what is there?
I believe so, if I take a look at the, this is the future plan, we have a little bit more information on that. Yeah, the carway is not dimensioned on these plans.
The reality is.
Yeah, so as far as what's there, I'm unclear if it's consistent with the 10-foot all the way up, or the 10-foot lanes all the way up. But we are open to widening. I mean, if that's gonna be the only sticking point for the whole thing, you're talking about just widening like the whole frontage?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's what is required for.
Required for the ordinance,
I
yeah.
don't know if township would require him to do widening, maybe deferral if required.
Because we did widening, we may have, so it may impact the sidewalks and everything else, they have to put all new sidewalks
It may,
in that, yeah.
right,
That's probably the best.
And grading, probably grading
Yes.
and all that stuff, yeah.
but the township usually does not grant a waiver, just a deferral.
Yeah.
So if you want to recommend an approval tonight, you might want to have it state that if widening is required per the ordinance, that it be a deferral. It be deferred.
I personally wouldn't see it as a requirement, keep the same lines that we have today. Not a neighborhood.
And especially there's no sight issues here either too. If you stand here at this spot, you got clear sight distance both ways.
According to my plot, different scale, it's the right way.
It's 30 feet.
We got
Yeah, but so let me explain, I mean, get this right, that there's 100 private driveways on this road, and I'm making that number up. Bunch of private driveways. That all use that shared current width.
Mhm.
You know, so we're adding this 101st private driveway. And you're saying the requirement may be for this one versus the others to widen the road there, where all the others already have this.
Based upon what type of road this is, it requires 30 feet in total width, which means 15 feet on their side of the roadway.
Of the
For what Mike just did on Google, I'm imagining it is 30 feet.
Okay, good. Because the only other concern is the other, I don't remember, but the other neighborhood is across the street. And they would have probably the same requirement, 30-foot wide cartway, and that's already approved, I believe.
Deeper. I think Rick went off and still coming back.
I don't remember.
I don't think.
I don't remember.
Okay, because there's a little fudge factor too, where they end up ultimately putting.
And
Yes.
Rick's, and his plans do not show the cartway width. Rick's plans might have showed the cartway width at 30 feet, so there wasn't a comment on his plans.
Right.
Well, it looks like it's 30. I don't think we're inclined to widen it.
Yeah.
Why would you want all of a sudden want to come down and all of a sudden it bumps out and he tracks back in again? So, we can just bump out.
Yep.
Supervisors to say if you want, then absolutely.
Agreed.
Right? Do we want to do this again or?
I'm good with it.
Okay, fine.
Yep.
Motion to approve as a will comply with the stipulation regarding the road widening.
Karen said directly, why didn't you come in with a right angle?
What's that?
This is fine, I'm not objecting to it, but why didn't you come in with a right angle to the street?
Right here?
It's fine.
That's just kind of what we do. We always just kind of come right in and, there would definitely be, you know, like turn, you know, it's not gonna be like on,
Grading,
it's gonna be
right.
grading and.
And as
Oh, so close.
a waiver would be required to request preliminary as final. I don't think that include, I didn't know the motion that is on the floor. But if it's preliminary as final, then a waiver would be required from that section.
All right, the motion's approved, is approved as preliminary, they can resubmit, we don't even have to have the applicant. I thought it was on here as preliminary final, so I thought we could move on that.
And it's a prerogative of the planning commission to approve it with the condition that they add waiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could add the waiver, yeah, we definitely don't need to make another trip if you guys are all happy with the way it is.
Yeah, okay.
So that, I guess that would be the 2 waivers for the pipe size and material, waiver for preliminary, final. And the condition for
The 30 foot
widening
wide
if-
cartway,
if
if it's
determined.
not 30
If
foot.
determined, right.
if determined.
Yep. Right,
Yep.
right,
I'll make that motion.
thank you, second, thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right, thank you all very much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
We gotta keep this.
All
You
right.
can keep it, yeah, if you'd like to, go with the big one.
Sorry. All right, sign ordinance, so Mike, you'll walk the group through. What this is, but, so as Mike walks you through, this is something he and I flagged. 6 weeks or so ago, and, I think once he walks you through it, you'll see it's something I think we should try to get in front of. But also.
So with the sign ordinance amendment, it's actually very simple. It's to clarify and enforce the sign requirement with the AO district. It's unclear in the
Take the
sign ordinance today. It's more unclear, though we have to have in some cases an archaic, antiquated ordinance, and I think this is where one of those anomalies popped up. To be specific with the AO district, and so what we're recommending at the staff level is that the planning commission board of supervisors move forward and add the AO districts to the commercial regulations. Because that's the least impactful, the smallest number of signs and the smallest size of signs are required in the commercial district when compared to village commercial or when compared to industrial, that sort of thing. And so it's more in line with the commercial uses as well. And so this could be the fix all, but the recommendation would be to move it forward to adoption. And if there are other details that the planning commission would like to consider at a later date, we could revisit it at a later date, especially when thinking forward toward the development of 355 Maple Avenue and the potential signs that we might see there. It will allow the planning commission to continue to think about additional amendments to make, if any, while that process is in the future.
So 355 is insurance property, right?
Yeah, so,
Yep, right.
Mike's.
So what's it doing ultimately for that property?
Yeah, so what ended up happening was, we're starting to see a bunch of tenants sign on there. So it looks like they're beginning to fill up that building. I think Zach will be coming in with a master plan
Good.
relatively soon. As we went through it and talked it through, Mike, Joe Chakowski and I, it was very unclear what the sign standards are for the AO district. And so I was very concerned as to what's going to happen to the sign that's out on 113.
Right.
And right now, the regs are very vague, which means that they could probably
Build on top of it if they wanted to, yeah.
And so we said, let's get this rectified. As they looked it through, village commercial surprisingly would give them all sorts of options. So commercial was the one that we thought kind of fit the character of the neighborhood, allows them to do something, but provides the most constraint. And then once they do a master plan, we can decide if we want to come back and redress that. But I think we want to put a stake in the ground with some regulations that keep them from embellishing those signs even further.
I have just two questions. One of them was on the time on the digital part of it. I think it was between midnight and 4 AM, if I remember correctly. That it would have to be off. Is that enough? Should it be 11 to 5? Like, is it?
So we can take a look at that. That's actually unchanged. So
Okay,
for the lion's share of the entire ordinance is just exactly what the commercial district requires. With the
Okay.
exception of one section. So the very last section, which is section J. We added where a lot or tract has more than one street frontage. A freestanding sign shall only be permitted to be placed along the street or highest classification. Which regulation also exists elsewhere in the sign ordinance. So we
okay,
felt it appropriate to add that because we have. To be specific, on 355 Maple Avenue, we had 3-4 frontages. And so we just needed to be a little bit more specific for that. So that's the only section that's actually being added. Everything else is as it was when it was originally adopted.
and my second one was, I just answered this, but as it relates, I was thinking of the sign in front of Hennings. And if they went in to redo that sign. Do the new regulations kick in?
It's an existing non-conforming sign, so they can repair to the point of replacement that sign. They're allowed to have that sign at Hennings. But nowhere else. Since that sign was erected, the township adopted ordinances that prohibited that type of sign.
Now, what if they want to make the sign bigger?
Hennings?
Yeah.
Then they would have to comply with current code.
Question for you, the ordinance section that you changed, you said it has to have, but be on the street of the highest classification. What if you have two streets of the same classification? Who gets to decide?
That's not specific in the code. We can clarify that.
I can't imagine they'd want to put it out on Main Street. Given that there's no entry road.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of lots that we're talking about with the AO, right? There are a lot of,
No, there are not a lot of AO lots.
so it might not even matter.
I mean, of course. We do rezonings at the municipal level from time to time, and who's to say that other lots might become AO, but right now there's only 2 lots that are AO. It's 355 Maple and it's the Alderfer Park. Off of Oak Drive.
But so with 355 Maple, they could put a digital sign. Drive on 113 or Oak Drive, which is both instances facing residences.
Not like the Hennings digital sign.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Per these regulations.
You know,
And they couldn't put it on Oak because the 113's got the higher designation.
Correct.
So that's what I'm saying, so that by definition is the front of that lot, then the frontage? Because isn't there even, I haven't read this well enough, like you only can put signs on the front of the building, right? Because wasn't that the problem like the liquor store and all those kind of stores, the front of the building versus the back of the building?
The liquor store was
Not
done by
necessarily.
stipulation agreement, so I'm not sure
So I'm
what's
guessing,
agreed.
so what I'm guessing, once you start putting signs on the building itself, even looking at the existing building. Could you put a sign on the Oak Drive side of the building as well as the 113?
they're
side of the building?
limited to a number of square footage per establishment.
For establishment, so if you're getting a number, let's just say they have 5 guys and 5 different occupants in there.
Building mounted signs.
Building mounted signs, they could put it on the Oak Drive side if they wanted to. Especially if you're in that front old part of the building, that's where you want your sign is, if
Right.
patrons are coming in off of Oak Drive.
Right.
Which
See, I don't like,
leads me to think,
yeah, I don't-
do we have any provisions so that residential areas are not impacted by the evening?
That was-
Signs.
That was the reason behind adding that section to the ordinance that prohibited signs on lower classification roads. But we can again continue to look into specific verbiage regarding the prohibition of signs along or on building spaces facing residential areas. However, I caution you to have that added tonight because something like that would have, we need to take a look at it from a township wide standpoint, whether or not in the district.
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to get this approved. We can get it advertised. Once we get it advertised, we throw a line in the sand that helps protect us. Because today, they could modify the sign on 113 and we have very little to stand on and prohibit me from doing anything. I think then they'll come back in with a master plan, at which point we could say, as part of all this, these are some of the requirements and restrictions we want to put in place.
And right now, the whole property's AO, right?
Correct.
Right. And that master plan, he might request zoning changes. To satisfy some things, which would make sense to me.
I don't know. I mean, it's up to the governing body to entertain a zoning request change. They could just, the governing body could just throw it in the trash or
Okay.
continue and give it to the planning commission for discussion.
May I add something? I can't tell if I'm on this large screen or not. Sorry, I'm not able to make it there this evening. We did send a review letter in for the zoning amendment with for the sign ordinance with some suggestions for how to address illumination after a certain hour. So I'm not sure if that might be something that you want to consider as part of the text amendment at this point, or maybe something that could be addressed later on.
I think we will try to get this, legislated now, right?
The staff recommendation would be to push it forward with what we have in front of us, but not with the understanding that we're gonna take a look at it in more detail.
And I want to make sure that's clear, that we will take a secondary after this go round.
Correct.
This is the hard thing, this lot, and I said this from the beginning. That we're creating a commercial property or an AO property theory in the middle of a huge residential area. Every side of that property is bound by residential. Backline has apartment buildings, you gotta drive single family homes. Across from 113, you have tons of townhomes and apartments. It's all residential around that whole property. And I'm very concerned we're gonna get public concerns about that big red and glowing light shining in my bedroom windows at night. And we just gotta make sure that we do it right. I don't want to do anything hasty, but if doing this quickly gives us some protections, and I get that, we gotta get some protections going. But then I think we need to look at it again. But particularly after we get a master plan, and see where he's going with that. And make sure we're cool.
But that sounds like that's the intent.
That's the intent. Right.
Okay, so, motion to approve, or are we approving it, or are we recommending consideration by the board of supervisors?
Recommending it be adopted by the board of supervisors.
I shall motion, get it for recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, county plan reviews. Claire, do you have anything for us? I have something for you.
Yes, at the last Planning Commission meeting, Eric Gerald presented an overview of the Indian Valley Regional Comprehensive Plan that is still in draft form. And will need to eventually be reviewed by the township, but not quite there yet. And from the presentation, he discussed one area of the township that is north of the turnpike that is surrounded by industrial zones, and on the northern boundary in Franconia, there's some kind of it's designated as the designated growth area in the comprehensive plan. And the question was what the vision was for that particular section of the township. And in the memo that I sent I think it was last week that I sent it around, it outlined what the categories of designated growth, secondary growth, and rural resource areas are in the regional comp plan, and some options for considering what the township might want to pursue. Thank you, Mike, with that area. The options are I'll just briefly go over it. The first one is to just leave it in the comprehensive plan as rural resource. This would require no changes zoning wise or otherwise on the township's part now. It would add a layer of time to review and a little bit of protection and flexibility in terms of what might happen there in the future. Because it wouldn't require you to do a zoning update at this time. If the designation for that area is changed to secondary growth or a designated growth, which is a higher intensity, the highest intensity in the region, then it would require, for consistency with the comp plan, it would require a rezoning of that area. That might just be that might be something that the township wants to address later on if there's development pressures in that area of the township, considering what's around there. It really just depends on what the vision is for that part of the township. There are some environmental resources that could be considered or should be considered when thinking about the future of that area. But I think the comp plan addresses it now as a rural resource, but with the new comp plan being updated now, it's a time for the township to consider what they might want to envision for that area.
So the reason I asked Claire to submit the letter to the township to embark on bringing us the recommendations is you can see the rural resource, it's an island. It's designated growth, sort of north and east, and then secondary growth, sort of a little bit to the west and certainly to the south there. So it's an island. I think we did it once upon a time to buy some time for those farmers and that family. At this point, we know that they're going to be vacating that and looking to sell it. Anybody who comes in with a use that would be contrary to the rural resource wouldn't just have to force a rezoning, but we'd actually have to modify our comp plan and submit that modification to the regional planning commission. So given the fact that we know all that's going to have to happen, why are we going to wait for the regional planning commission to work through all of that over the next year? Let's just go ahead and get the process started.
Turn it brown.
What's that?
Turn it brown. Match everything around it.
And I think we can have a debate as to whether it should be dark orange or light peach, the secondary versus the designated.
I already had you guys for
Probably have to ask the farmers, I mean, that they've grown that for so long.
It's a surrounding island, but if there's anything there that's extremely valuable, as an agricultural resource, want to know.
It doesn't mean they can't keep farming it as an agricultural.
But do you want to be sure that it's kept farming?
Is it
Austerity.
Is it two farms or two brothers? I can never, I think.
Oh, just the Moyer farm?
Yeah,
Just that is,
it's two different farms, right? But
it's,
One in the right corner.
one along Roberts Road and then the other one along Castle.
so it's that track when you cross over the turnpike and somebody keeps hitting the guardrail. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that whole thing is right there.
Yeah.
Talk about.
Yeah.
I think this is a separate farm here, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
The one in the right corner.
yeah, because the one takes access off of Frets, the driveway goes in there, and the other one goes in off the side.
And if you look just north of that road, you can see some of that residential development that's starting to appear in that area. So you can see there's a cul-de-sac and some houses that are coming off of it that I can't tell right now based on the screen if it's in that secondary growth or if it's within the rural resource, but that might be the kind of housing development that you would experience in that rural resource.
Yeah,
Just like what you see, like the proposal that we saw earlier this evening.
It looks like there's a green corridor there.
Sorry, there's a lot.
From the previous image, it looked like there's a fairly wide green corridor, open corridor there.
There's a creek, that's the creek, yeah.
That's something.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna be able to build anything down there, it's pretty steep.
Yeah.
All right, so what's the next steps, Claire? You guys have given the letter. I think Joe Jakowski said they were gonna review it, the supervisors, and come back with the direction, and then you guys will come back with what recommended both designation and possible zoning could be?
Yeah, I'll just speak with Eric Gerald about the exact process for what this looks like going forward. I mean, I think it should be pretty fine to integrate it into the comprehensive plan now. And my understanding is that we wouldn't be telling you what the zoning should be. That's up to the township. But depending on what zoning classification might make the most sense for the kind of development that you would anticipate or want to plan for in that area, then we would try to figure out how that would best fit in with the secondary or primary designated growth area. Do you have an idea of what you're thinking about now, or is this something that you still need to discuss?
Well, I mean, I think based on some of the things that have been submitted in, we had one that was a fairly intensive industrial use that would have had a lot of trucks going up and down frets and across that bridge, and I think we've decided that we'd really rather push that out to Longville Road 309 connector and not bring it back into that spot. So I think we want to try to steer towards something that's compatible with the road and the access points that surround it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It seems
Uh-oh, I think sure grows
It's very strong.
very cold. Okay, she's frozen.
So that'll move forward.
So that, right, and so if I may speak, I don't know what Claire was gonna say, she's still frozen. I can see it. So I think that right now it's in discussion mode. So the first step was for the county to recommend these options because of the situation of this area, the fact that it's a little island of rural growth. Rural area, and then there's secondary growth and primary growth around, that this lended itself to a potential to change the designation if the township wants to have it changed. So that's the first step. The second step is, what does that mean? Does that mean that the township wants to do that or do nothing? And so that's the one of three options that the county review letter showed, was that do nothing or change it to secondary growth or change it to primary growth. And that discussion is happening now. So if the planning commission has an idea today, then maybe you can move forward and recommend to the board, or if the planning commission would like to further discuss this at the next planning commission meeting, then we can do that too. And then I can come to the meeting with more information about what these areas specifically look like, what development has already occurred in these areas like Bridal View, what existing houses are in these areas like along Skipback Creek Road, just all the different impacts, and really delve into it to see exactly what this would mean.
Yeah, why don't you come back and tell us, if we do designated growth, what intensity could that look like, and what will be the zoning and permitted uses? The secondary, obviously we know what the do nothing is. I think the problem with the do nothing is it does allow for some of the industrial uses, because that's what we want to sort of figure out. And then what I'd like to be able to do is, if we can do this in somewhat of an expedient manner, then at the regional planning commission, they can make the changes in concert, as opposed to having them approve a plan that we then have to amend. Because if we start to steer them of here's where we're going, then they can take that as here's the input from Lower Salford, change their plan, and now we're in sync going forward.
we still have some time in terms of the regional comp plan before it gets to the final review point. So if there's changes that the township wants to start working on now, we definitely have some time before the adoption process begins for the comp plan.
I think that we have to get it in before they start the public review process, because once for you in each municipality, if anybody changes, he has to start over.
Correct.
Okay, All right, good. So you'll come back next month with
Yes.
some of that. Great. So then Claire, the other thing that I had for you is at the last meeting, Scott made a comment that stuck with me for a period of time. So I talked about it with Joe Tukowski, Chris Canavan, Mike, and some others, which was if the Ullabach track is not gonna develop in the same way as the other side of Main Street has, that's different than we've contemplated for the last 20 years. And what could that look like? What should it look like? What are the options for us to think about how that will happen? Because I think now people will come up over the hill, will hit the traffic light at Quarry Road. In my mind, I thought I knew what that field was going to be, and now it might end up being something different. It would be really good if we thought through what the options of what that different could look like. Even so that we can have a good conversation within the community of, do we like that? So, what Joe would be open to, and that I told him I would talk to you about, is if the county could give us a proposal to do a street corridor plan, and there's probably a good articulate phrase for it that I'm fumbling on right now, but you know, how could that develop? How would we want to do it in concert with what's on the other side of the street? What could the setbacks look like?
Yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about this because I did want to get a little bit more clarity on what I know that there was some question about wanting to do a visioning exercise for that section of the eastern part of 63, and I wasn't totally, when I started thinking about it a little bit more, I wasn't totally clear on the vision for what. Is it the streetscape? Is it that the old farm property? Is it both? I was in a meeting recently with the township where they're thinking about doing streetscape improvements for another part of Main Street. So would those two be in concert together, or is this kind of separate? And if it's kind of a vision for how the Ullabach property would get, how it would be treated in the future, that almost sounds like a master plan in addition to that corridor.
Yeah, but let's not go elsewhere in the corridor. Let's focus on that.
Okay.
The rest of it's gonna be preserved.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
I'm just talking about, let's not worry about Main Street, beyond.
I'm not worried about Main Street downtown here.
Right.
I'm more concerned, like you said, we all had this vision between, I guess, Oak Drive, which I guess where the creek is, and even, and the last example I gave is Claire, when the county gave us what Bergie's carpet would look like if it was built out, right? What's that worst case scenario? So my original request was kind of, okay, let's look at what is that worst case scenario now, going from the creek, Hennings, all the way, and I would even, because people have brought it up a number of times, all the way up to the LCBC church, whatever it's called, LCBC church, because people are always concerned about that church and what happens ultimately to all that property if they were to sell off property. And ultimately, I guess it would take us down to Womble Road. Although there's probably not much land development there, but kind of give us a view as you transition from an industrial thoroughfare highway or roadway, the 309 connector, up through and into, just until you get into the hardcore village of Harleysville.
So the property now is zoned MU.
Right.
So I think that, the development across the street kind of gives you a sense of what that could be developed as. So if there's, now that the property is being preserved, that's a very different context from when we did the zoning testing for the village commercial district. It wouldn't necessarily be a zoning testing in this case because it's a preserved farm.
Right.
But I still understand the idea of wanting to, try to do some envisioning for what that property and that surrounding area might look like.
What if we did this? What if we did it as what are some of the elements of how the Ullabach track could be developed? and then tie that into a corridor study back to 40-foot road. Cause like what the conversation that I've had with Chris is, are we thinking Fisher's Pool in Coaменson? Are we thinking Upper Gwinnett across from the Merck facility? Are we thinking about, if any of you are familiar with the, I think it's Upper Dublin Park that's down on Fort Washington? As you're there, like what is it that could end up becoming? And do we think that makes sense? And how does it tie in with everything else that you will lead up to that?
Or it could be just a meadow.
Or, I mean, it could be thinking about it as a more passive or more active use of the space, even if it's left predominantly as a preserved area. How do you want it to be an active place where residents can go and recreate or use birding trails or whatever it is?
Right, I've heard different concepts that, you know, it could be active and passive, then I've heard we've got more than enough sports fields, so
Right.
let's do it
Yeah.
more. An amphitheater, trails, exercise stations, you know, and all of that, but not have it be sports facilities.
Mhm.
Makes sense. When somebody goes to one of the 3 fast food restaurants across the street, they can go exercise on the other side.
I would agree with
What's-
that.
Well,
So as Claire mentioned, we're actually, we just had a meeting with the county on this topic, and it seems like it's in concert with what we were talking about with regard to a streetscape study down Main Street, Harleysville. And it would also include, I don't know, Claire, if you have that exhibit that you showed, or that was shown by the county, it would also includes, that's okay if you don't,
That was from Stephanie. I don't, yeah.
So it also includes gateways on both sides of the township. And so I think before we ask Blair to move forward with anything, maybe I should circle back with Joe and tell him about what was discussed here tonight, and then bring up the grant that we're going for. It's a DCED TCDI grant application, and so it'll be a very big grant. It's like 100, 200, or $300,000 grant, and it would include a lot, and it would encompass this area, or at least portions of this area down a corridor. And I just want to make sure that we're not asking the county to do something that is already going to be done through the process.
Let me ask you this, the streetscape, from where to where is the intent of that?
The core of Harleysville,
Which
generally, I think it's around Stover or Oak,
Oak to Maple?
all the way down to
13?
Maple, or maybe 113. It's still being talked about, so
Okay.
nothing's solidified,
That's what they're calling the core, like kind of. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, my pushback, Mike, is that all sounds great, and I think, you know, anything we can do to always enhance planning and continue to develop the village. This is a parcel that's sitting in front of us right now that we're changing tactic on compared to what we've all envisioned it to be for years. And then we're gonna go do a referendum. I think we owe it to the community to say, what the heck do we think is gonna happen at the corner of Main Street and Quarry Road? So everything else you're doing sounds great. I don't wanna wait 2 years to answer a big question and step over the thing that's right in front of us.
Okay.
I'm just speaking for
I
my.
actually agree.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're asking the township to spend $20 million on something, I wanna know what it looks like.
Yeah, but then let's get it right, or at least understand what our options are, and do we like those options?
Right, yeah.
Well, look at Upper Stafford Park. I mean, that, they just put a big thing in the middle, it's, there are walking trails all around, parking for everybody, it's pretty wide open, but it's not crazy looking, but it's very useful.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of really great regional or township parks that are in the region that we can use as a nice jumping board for brainstorming what might be a good use for this property in the future. So I can certainly work on this, and I would be happy also to speak more to Mike and Joe about about this property. I know that we want to keep it separate from the other project, but it sounds like I might be helping out with that grant application at the same time. So, maybe that could support one another, but I understand they are separate things.
Project, that's great.
Yeah, it's right.
Tie it in, but do it first. All right, so that's all I had. Okay.
And that also just makes a comment, you're talking about the gateways at the end of the core corridor of downtown Harleysville. I've always thought the challenge of connecting downtown with Hennings, that east end gateway, that bridge it's the creek kills us.
Yeah.
The accessibility due to the creek.
So the gateway was actually east of 113 and 113 Main Street intersection.
Yep.
Was a gateway area.
And what's the other gateway?
And then the other gateway, I believe, was near LCBC.
Oh, all the way down there.
Yeah.
Okay. Because then if you look at the
So
rest of the
basically the whole
core,
corridor with the focus of the streetscape
was
improvements
on this end of the core.
was right here in the
Yeah.
middle of Harleysville. Right.
Because that's the thing that kills me, just connecting new downtown Harleysville, Hennings and the MU area and this old village. The creek and that bridge choke us. There's,
Yeah, I think when we were talking about it as part of the village commercial, we kind of said it's where the bank kind of starts and then
Yeah.
things. Visually, where you start to feel like you enter the village, everything
Right.
before that is sort of,
that's why I call that the gateway to the
Yeah.
village. You aren't quite in the village yet.
motion to adjourn,
The
Second.
thank you, all in favor?
I,
Right.